we're in a society where we think, go to school, get a good job, right? So when people jump into this business and they think, oh man, I got one company, but they're not paying me enough. And I tell people, stop putting yourself in a box. That's one of the things that people do, is they put themselves in this box and they treat entrepreneurship, because having your own courier service or business is an entrepreneur driven. Like, you cannot, it's not just a job. You got to be hungry. And a lot of people jump into it with that job mentality, thinking it's just going to come to their lap. And it's not. It's not.
It takes effort, right? It takes work. It takes a little bit, of really having a skill set. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited for this one because here at Schools Over Now What, it's important for us to put you on the game, but also let you see what is actually out there that you could be doing, but you just haven't heard about it yet, or perhaps you don't even know it's even happening. And today we're going to unlock the secrets behind a business that we have yet to talk about. That's the courier business. And we're bringing in a superstar in this space. I know you're already clicking the show notes. You already read the show title. You're like, yo, Shawn, just bring them on. We got the one and only Daeron Myers on the show today. What's going on, fam?
What's up, man? I appreciate you having me. How everybody feeling?
Man, we feeling good, man. We're excited to have you on the show, man, because a lot of people, when they hear about this podcast, they go to this podcast, they got their notepad ready, they're ready to take notes. They already see the show title. They're like, all right, Shawn, we're ready to learn from him. We're ready to learn the game. But I always want people to kind of like go back and understand people's story. Because when you go back and understand people's story, you see those similarities, those different things that make sense. You're like, you know what? I see a little bit of me in him. So take us back to like the young Daeron growing up. Where are you from?
Oh man, Baltimore, Maryland, man. School of hard knocks is what we call it. Right? Just for me, man, growing up, drug infested neighborhood, mom, just out there in the streets. My pops wasn't around, and raised by a bunch of women. For me, I was raised outside. Like, drugs was the thing that I was into. Like, I was watching the Hustlers and the Dope Boys at a young age, and I was like, I want to drive the flyest cars. I want to, you know what I mean? I want the flyest girl. I want the jewelry, right? So I was attracted to that as a young age, and I myself, and just to be transparent, even me, I started selling drugs at 11 years old. Like, I was tired of going to school and people was making fun of me, the hand-me-downs. I'm not having the latest Jordans, because that was our thing back then. Penny Hardaways and all that. If y'all around my age, but just growing up in that environment, I always wanted more, but I just went about it the wrong way. So, just to go back, that's kind of like really that childhood, man. I really, missed out on a lot of stuff, chasing money, growing up fast, chasing women, older women, and I missed out, on a lot of that stuff. The good thing was, my mom, she had moved to New York. And that kind of got me out of that environment. So when I moved to New York, I was able to focus on football. Like, I ain't had no friends, no influence. It was nobody around me that I knew. So I could just focus on school. And what happened is I ended up actually going to UAlb on a scholarship to play football. So, man, that was good.
Man, listen, it's so crazy when you think about it, right? The exposure and the environments that we're in, they truly shape us. We're either going to go one direction or the other, but it sounds like for you, when you found football, you found something. What did football do for you mentally that took you, to a different space, definitely a different headspace in the city you're in?
Yeah, so football was one of those legal fights, right? So I could take out my anger. I could take out everything that I was, everything that I was holding on to. I could take that out on the field. You know what I mean? And it really brought me to be a leader. Like, just as a young age, how I look at it now, it's like, wow, people would listen to me back then. I just didn't know it, right? Like, I was leading an army, a pack back then. I just didn't know it. I was just being me. You know what I mean? I was just pouring my passion out to other people. So, that's really what it did for me. It allowed me to express my anger. Like, dang, we ain't got enough. I'm tired of not having this. I'm tired of not having this. But now I can get it out. And it allowed me to be me. Like, I could, I can curse on the field. I could, be hype and not get penalized for it. Like, you know what I mean? So it allowed me to be me. And it allowed me to find out that, Daeron, you are a leader and people will listen to you and people will run through a brick wall for you. You just got to set the example.
Oh man, listen, man, that's powerful. Because right now, when you were saying that, when you're younger, you're doing things you don't really recognize, and you get older, it's like you're connecting dots, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You're connecting dots, but also I think what's important too is connect those dots where they actually can help your family. They actually can, help you grow. They can actually help you build sustainability. And I think it's very interesting the dots that you have connected just in the business you're in, which I think is like a business that a lot of people, when they hear it, they're like, yo, you can make money from that? Like what is that? So for
right.
someone listening right now, and they're like, yo, Shawn, Daeron, like, teach me. Like, what is the courier business?
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. So a lot of people don't know, right? The first thing people want to do is I need to make some extra money, right? So Uber, DoorDash, Instacart, you know those players in that space, right? So you're actually doing, the type of work, but you're not getting compensated like it would. So a courier business where we take products, items from one location to another, right? So there's other apps out here such as Courier that'll pay you a lot more to take packages and not people, right?
Mm.
There's Freight, there's Bunty, there's Point Pickup, there's Go. There's a ton of other apps that we could be doing that pays a lot more just to deliver products. I'm talking about things that actually matter, right? There's an app called Airspace out here. They deliver life science, right? I've seen it where, you get paid $500 for going 60 miles to deliver some life science, right?
That's crazy.
Right. So it's a thing that people just don't know. Everything has to be delivered, right? So the courier business is all local work where you can do in your car, right? Of course, you can do it in an SUV, a cargo van, and a box truck. It gets bigger, but you can start off in your car, start delivering products and packages, and start making a lot of money all local where you can wake up at home and end up at home. Because a lot of people think the transportation, oh, I need a big truck. Oh, I got to be over the road. But they don't know about the last mile, final mile, where you're taking that thing from maybe a pharmacy to someone's home, maybe a warehouse to somebody's home. And that's the courier business.
Oh man, listen, I like this, man. We about to get into this, because as you were talking about it, I was thinking like, yo, I could have used the carrier business. I would have liked to learn more about it, and I would have paid somebody to bring some items to me. I'm tell you, perfect thing, man. We both have kids. My daughter broke the sink with a hand soap and it cracked, right? And so back in my mind, I was saying to myself, man, now I gotta go get another sink. So I go all the way to Lowe's, gotta pick it out, wonder if it fit in the car. But I'm pretty sure, based off what you just said, somebody could have brought us that.
Yeah.
and, and I would have gladly had paid that. So, I'm curious for you, because I know the wheels are turning for our audience right now. Like, how did you get your start in this industry?
Ah, man. So my uncle, which is not my uncle, he was my pops. They actually went to college together. Just to be real for the show, they was in prison together, right? So
Yeah.
so he put me on. He said, "Man, this thing is better than the streets. It's called this independent contractor courier thing."
Mm.
And I just said, "Oh, what is that? What you mean?" He said, "Listen, I'm making 3,000 plus a week. Now, for me, I'm 20 years old.
Mm.
At that time, I'm like, okay, 3,000, 6,000. Now you making $12,000 a month. Like, you ain't got to tell me no more. How do I do it?
Facts.
Right? How do I do it?" So he actually introduced me to this company called Hayes and Transport. And what happened is, I started doing deliveries for them, and I realized, like, wow, you start making money by getting paid, because they paid me by the piece. So I was getting paid for everything that I did. And that was the first time I experienced that, because usually people get paid by the hour. And I'm like, hold up, if I do more in an hour, I can speed up my income. And from
Mm.
that day, I've been hooked ever since.
Oh man, it's like, I'm pretty sure from that day you were like, you know what? I'm about to run these laps. I'm about to I'm about to gas this thing up. I'm about to
Yeah.
figure out what's next. Listen, we do a lot of research here at the show, and we always want to ask the best questions. So I can imagine that there's probably like some misconceptions in this business. Like, what do you feel like are some of like the biggest misconceptions that people have about the courier business, and how do you even go about like even addressing them?
Some of the misconceptions. I think people a lot of times we're in a society where we think, and trust me, it's from childhood. Go to school, get a good job, right? So when people jump into this business and they think, oh man, I got one company, but they're not paying me enough. The thing about it is, you can have as many contracts as you absolutely want to, right? You need, and I tell people, stop putting yourself in a box. And that's one of the things that people do is they put themselves in this box and they treat entrepreneurship, because having your own courier service or business is an entrepreneur driven. Like, you cannot, it's not just a job. You got to be hungry, right? You got to want it. And a lot of people jump into it with that job mentality, thinking it's just going to come to their lap, and it's not. It's not.
Because it takes effort, right? It takes work. So that leads me to thinking about, it takes a little bit, of really having a skill set. Like, what skills do you feel like are essential, or like, did you feel like, okay, you might want to, learn this, or you might want to, figure out how to, do this a little bit differently that could help somebody that wants to start this business?
Yep. So one of the skills, the number one skill I would say, in just in logistics transport, is communication, right? Even when you're approaching these companies, say you're approaching like a third party company. So there's logistics and courier companies that will give you a contract. This is what they do. They give contracts to independent people with vehicles, right? So communicating what you're actually looking for. What does your day look like, right? Because you can pick your own schedule, and effectively communicating can directly affect your income, right? Number two would be networking, right? In this industry, there's ton of associations. I mean, the CLDA, Customized Logistics Delivery Association, and the ECA, Express Carriers Association. I'm actually going to a conference next week. They putting me in for 2 days. 48 hours, I get to meet with companies that need delivery services, 15 minutes a piece for 2 days. So, like, it's no way that you don't leave a conference like that with no business. Facts. Like, I just get 2 days talking to companies that need my services.
Facts.
So so having that networking piece, don't be scared to brag about your business. Tell people about your business in that confidence, right? That you can be able to, handle something. Like, if it's a podcast center, if it's a mic distribution center, like, let me get those mics. I can deliver those to a location with no problem, safely and soundly, right? We talking about podcasts, so I just want to use that. But communication, networking, y'all, and that belief system, it'll take you far.
Facts. I think communication, networking, and what Daeron is really talking about is, you got to put yourself in position, and you have to figure out, okay, how do I get to exactly where I need to go? How do I do that? And that's by putting yourself in these rooms, identifying these conferences, identifying the right places to go. I got to ask you this, because I know someone's thinking about it, because as you're talking, I'm sitting there saying to myself, listen, after this interview is over, I know I got the link in the show notes. I know I can sign up for whatever you got going on. But, fam, I'm going to be real with you, Daeron. After this interview is over, I'm going to go look up some stuff and try to figure some things out. So I want you to ask a question. It's selfish of me to ask the question, but I'm asking it because I know right now my audience is like, Shawn, you don't ask him this. You'll be killing us. What do you feel like? Like, can you walk us through like the first steps? I want you to walk us through the first steps that someone should take, right, if they're interested in using their vehicle to do carrier services.
Gotcha. Right. So I'm gonna break it down into 4 steps, right? And this is going to lead up to having a big business, right? Number one, download all the delivery apps, right? You can find those on your Google Play Store, App Play Store. Just type in on demand delivery, right? Some of the best ones are Courier, Curri, Freight, Frayt. Shipped is a good one. Roadie is a good one. Point Pickup, GoMo, Synpex, and Airspace, right? That'll be level 1. Just download apps, and I mean all of them. All right, and there's so much more, right? Number 2 is then let me figure out what companies, right, that actually can give me a contract, right? So it'll be more stable, more steady, right? So you can go on clda.org. On their homepage, it'll say find a delivery partner. Go to your state and start calling companies. Let them know what vehicle that you have and that you're trying to bring capacity to that operation. Okay. The third level, let's figure out, let's go get our own customers, right? So let's join the Chamber of Commerce. Let's figure out what our local customers, our local businesses in our area is, and let's join that and start pitching our services to them, along with getting a website, putting it on Google Business, along with getting that website, putting it on Yelp, right? So now those inbound leads can come in and those people searching for your services can come in. And then the fourth step would be, let me take that money, reinvest it, get a bigger insurance, a DOT, a MC, $1 million in auto liability and $100,000 in cargo. And now let me go to these associations where these shippers are. I mean, Cardinal Health, Dealer Tire, all these big boys are, and let me go get a big boy contract, right? So those would be the 4 steps, right, that I would tell somebody to build this thing up and really take it to the next level.
Oh man, you just gonna get on the podcast and give away the game like that. I mean, step by step, play by play, man. Listen, I like it, man. And I'm thinking right now, if I'm listening to this podcast and I'm learning right now from you, how could I identify the right contracts or the right routes where I know, okay, there's some profit there? Is that primarily through the app? Is there something that you're teaching people on how to do that? Like, what strategies could you give us there?
And that goes case by case, right? Everybody's scenario is a little different. I know somebody right now that be happy to get a $300 a day route. Sometimes that ain't for somebody else, right? Somebody be like, man, I ain't doing nothing less than 500. So that's kind of the case by case. What I look at it as, if I take my expenses, my insurance, my gas, my mileage costs, whatever your miles per gallon is, and your cell phone divided by 30 days, your insurance divided by 30 days, that daily rate, how much am I making per day? And is it 30 to 40% above my expenses, right? And if you do that math, then you pretty much have a profitable day or a route. So just to break it down so people understand, that would be it, right? Take your expenses. How much am I making? Am I making 30% or more? Then I know I'm good.
Facts. I think what's so cool about this show is that we are really big on like lessons and lessons learned. And I can imagine you gotten a lot of them from the business, that you're in. Is there a particular like moment, or can you share like a particular memorable moment for you, that was almost like a turning point for you in terms of the carrier business?
Oh yeah, absolutely. What the turning point was when I knew that it was associations, right? So I went to my first conference and I met other people. Right. And I'm not talking about no other people that look like me. I'm talking about 60, 70-year-old white men saying, Daeron, I've been in the business for 40, 50 years. I know the ins and outs. And what happened is they started connecting me with other people and their friends and their friends. So basically, like, me getting like a mentor was the thing that changed it all for me. And I started getting an influx of business. Like, hey, Daeron, we got this business in Baltimore. Like, if I was to show you my email, the businesses come to me by putting myself in that room, that environment, and that changed it all for me. That's the thing that said, Daeron, you got to put your business on Yelp. You got to get with these Chamber of Commerce. You got to put your business out there. Let me teach you how to market. These are the things that you got to do. So now I'm not guessing anymore. I know how to get there, right? That was the thing, because I was just guessing. I'm buying books off of Amazon. They ain't doing nothing. I'm trying to watch University. That ain't really helping me, right? But getting with those right people, that's like, I've been doing this for 40 years. I got so many contacts. Here you go. Like, they passed me over their book of business, and it's been turning ever since.
Man, this is good, man. This is go. Because so often, right? Like we see social media and we're like, okay, I can only learn it this way. I can only learn it that way. And what you're really giving us right now is the game, and just putting yourself in that right spot and understanding, get you that mentor, get you somebody that can really give you, and this applies to many businesses, right? This applies to almost everything that you really want to excel in, that you really want to grow in. I can imagine with your lessons learned, that's probably one piece of advice you wish you had received, and that you wish you had received primarily, when you're starting out. What would be that one piece of advice? Like, if I had this piece of the game, if I had just known this about the carrier business, is there anything else that kind of stands out to you that way?
Yeah, it'd probably be the same thing. Like, if I would have just known earlier, like how to really where the business is. You know what I mean? And the business, like, it's crazy to think that a conference is bringing in customers and sitting you down with the customers that you've been looking for.
That's crazy.
I'm talking about they sitting you down with the person who signs off on the contract, that procurement officer, or that vendor relationships manager, or that director of partnerships. You're sitting down with these people, hanging out for 3-4 days, drinking poolside. The conference is on Orlando. It's going to be some nice weather. We're going to sit by the pool. And now I can create some informal relationships, right? But really, like, a life lesson was just, Daeron, you good enough. That was one of the battles that I had, bro. I'm coming from the hood. I'm going in this room. I'm young. I'm black. I don't dress like y'all, talk like y'all, but people love me for me. And it was all between my ears. The things that was stopping me was me. And once I started to break out that shell and say, people gonna love you for you, it just got so much better.
Man, that's gold, man. You know, there's a saying that by being yourself, you're either going to attract everybody that's for you, or you're going to repel everybody that's against you. And I think you're a true testament of that, man. Like, could you share? And I'm curious here, like here's one thing that you're really good at, and I'm not sure if you noticed it very quickly, as our audience probably is right now. They're in the show notes. They're clicking on social media profiles. They're like, okay, cool. Where can I follow this guy? Can you share with us, like, strategies that you realized that was working? I think you're really good at building your brand, though, right? Like, and you're really good at like being different from what others might be seeing, right? What would be one of the strategies or tips that you would give for somebody right now who might say, okay, I love what he's saying. I want to do this, and I want to make it unique. Maybe even cause it to be a passion that goes towards a charity or a foundation or something. I want to do this. I really want to make this happen. But I want to learn from Daeron right now on how I can build a reputable brand in this industry. What would be your advice or tips on that?
Oh man, you have to be open and honest, right? You have to be open and honest. And the thing that you got to do is being able to say no, right? The thing about when people start business, you just want business just because. No, I want business that is going to be profitable, but also is going to be long term, right? I don't listen. I turned down a lot of customers. Sorry, we a lot of conversations went left when I started giving my price, but I'm not the cheapest. All right. And a lot of people, what they do is they cheap and they dumb down their brand. And now you got people, if you make one mistake, they on Yelp, they on Google giving you a 1-star review, even though you did 100 things best, right? So make sure that you identify your customer and stick to those guns. Right?
Man.
Stick to them.
Oh man, that's gold, man. You came through and gave us a masterclass today. I want to ask you the question that we ask everybody that has ever been on the platform. And that is, if you were the person asking yourself the question of the podcast, school's over, now what? What advice would Daeron give?
School's over, now what, man? One, mentor. Get a mentor as soon as possible. Whatever you want to do in life, go find somebody. I don't care if you know them or don't know them. There's LinkedIn, right? Call that office. Show up, like, whatever that needs to be, who's ever successful or who you deem successful in that space. First thing first, get you a mentor and then get exposed. Go out here to these conferences, these business networking events, whatever you like. Do not sit in the house behind the computer. Get out there, shake hands, get, partners. You never know when a company needs you as their missing link to take it to the next level. You never know what partner you're going to come across that you need to add to your team, whatever that is. Just get outside, y'all, right? Go to these networking events, go to these, what they say, get in the rooms. That's actually true. And that would be my first advice. I wish I would have just skipped it and went straight there.
Man, that's powerful, man. I thank you for being on the podcast, providing so much value. Get in the rooms. You got to take this. You might have to go back and re-listen to this episode because there's so many different gems in it. Daeron, right now, I want people to find you, though. Give us all your social media platforms and where we can best find you.
Got you. On all platforms. Instagram is primarily my platform. So Daeron Myers _. So that's DAERONMYERS _ with a blue check. I know it's a lot of fraud accounts, so make sure that it has a blue check and it's just one _, y'all. So Daeron Myers _ on all socials, TikTok and Instagram.
Facts, man. Listen, I appreciate you. And for those that have been listening, always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it. We'll see you next week. Yo, what you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at Shawn Anthony _, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.